Hey everybody, welcome back to Committed Gaming. I'm Soul Slayer, and today I'm bringing you a werewolf breakdown video, a full breakdown of how to get bitten, how the full moon works, the quest line, and power leveling your werewolf. Alright, let's get started with how to get bitten. It's a pretty straightforward process where you either go out into one of the three specific areas depending on your alliance, which for the Ebonheart Pact it is Riften. You go out at night during a full moon and find werewolves that spawn throughout the area. If you go online, there's a lot of maps that show you exactly where the werewolves spawn. One thing is that's actually very difficult because there are a lot of people trying to become werewolves out there, so the werewolf spawns are just flooded with characters, with people. The other thing is, be careful, because the other way you can get bitten is by a player. One player is allowed to bite one person once every 7 days, but 90% of the people out there that are saying werewolf bite, and they're charging for it are actually they're trolling you, they're scamming you. They're running around taking the money from you and then running so that you don't get the bite. And there's nothing you can do about it either, because a lot of times they just say, all right, give me the money and then I'll bite you, so that they don't get scammed. But a lot of times they don't even have the bite. One trick against this is you have to be bitten at a shrine, at the werewolf shrine. If they say anything otherwise, if they say, oh, give me the money here, I'll bite you right here, and you're not at the werewolf shrine, then they're scamming you, because the werewolf shrine is the only place you can be bitten by a player. Alright, once you get bitten, then you have the quest line. You're bitten at the werewolf shrine or by the NPCs out in the world. But the beginning of the quest line is at the werewolf shrine. There's a note sitting at the base of the shrine. You click on it, read what it has to say, and then a portal pops up and right next to the shrine. You hop through the portal, and then you talk to the statue who says, like, to run out within the area, find the biggest thing you can kill, howl for your pack, and they'll feed with you. So one of three large creatures will spawn within the area. A giant snake, a mammoth, or a troll. I've never gotten the troll. I've gotten the mammoth, and I've gotten the giant snake. The giant snake is probably one of the harder things to kill, because werewolves are susceptible to poison. They have, I think it's a 15% extra damage for poison. So the snake is actually kind of difficult to kill because he spits out poison as his heavy attack, which does a lot of damage to werewolves. But once you've killed the big animal, you get the option to howl. And once you howl, then werewolves come out of the woodwork and feed. Then you feed on it with them. Then you get called back to Hercene, the statue. You go up to him, talk to him, and he says the pup is now a wolf, and you get your werewolf ultimate. Now, stop right there when you get that far. Go into your skills, set that as your ultimate, and then become a werewolf there. You won't be a werewolf after you get your ultimate, but then you can use your ultimate to become a werewolf. If you become a werewolf within that area, you can then run around and kill all the NPCs over and over and over again to power level your werewolf, because within that area, your ultimate never runs out, so you don't have to worry about it. So it makes it really, really easy to power level your werewolf. Your werewolf only goes to level 10, so it does take some time, but it doesn't take a very long time to get to that. Plus, if you go in there, then you can power level it up to the point where you can get the skill Devour, which means you can now feed off of enemies that you've killed to prolong your werewolf, which is a very, very crucial thing. It makes it so you can pretty much extend your werewolf as far as you want it to go, as long as there's enemies that you can kill. And finally, guys, I wanted to do a full breakdown of the werewolf skill tree. If we go into this, I've already morphed my ultimate to pack leader, but the original ultimate is werewolf transformation. Werewolf transformation transforms yourself into a bloodthirsty beast, increasing your stamina, armor, and sprint speed. Light attacks add a bleed effect, dealing X damage over 8 seconds. Your transformation also causes nearby enemies to run in fear. When you morph it to the pack leader, you get an ability where now your allied werewolves, when they use a heavy attack, increase the duration of the werewolf by 2 seconds each time they do it. Which is a really nice thing when you have like a pack of werewolves running around a dungeon or whatever. The other option for your morph for the werewolf ultimate was the werewolf berserker, which increases his light attack bleed for additional 40%, which is really, really nice. And then we go down to pounce. Pounce is you jump a certain distance, landing on your target, dealing X amount of physical damage. The morphs for those are brutal pounce and feral pounce. Brutal pounce deals damage to all nearby enemies, so you jump into a group of them and they all get damaged. Feral pounce, each use increases your werewolf form. Increases the time that you are a werewolf, which again goes along with the pack leader morph. If you want to just increase duration, which it's not entirely necessary to do that, because you can just continuously run around as a werewolf as long as there's enemies to kill and eat. Next we have Hircine's Bounty. Hircine's Bounty invokes Hunter's Blessing, healing yourself for X amount. This is really, really crucial, because then you take a big hit, or you take like poison damage, because werewolves are more susceptible to poison. Then you can heal yourself for X amount of your life, which is actually a large sum of your health that you get every time you do that, and you can just repeatedly do that using up like magicka. So if you have enough magicka, you can just keep going with that, which is really, really nice. The morphs are Hircine's Rage and Hircine's Fortitude. Hircine's Rage increases weapon damage for caster, which is really nice. More damage output goes with the berserker. Hircine's Fortitude, add health over time effect, which is also really nice. Helps with the Hircine's Bounty, where you get health back every time you howl. So now you continuously get health after you've done that for a while, which I think is probably what I'm going to go with. Then if we go down, we go to Roar. Roar I don't normally use that often, but Roar terrifies up to 3 enemies in front of you for 3.8 seconds. The morphs for this is Ferocious Roar and Rousing Roar. Ferocious Roar, killing feared targets leaves nearby allies off balance and disoriented. So if you roar and then they become feared, as this says, then you kill them while they're scared, and then all other enemies in the area are off balance and disoriented, which could be nice if you time it right. Rousing Roar scares your enemies and also increases weapon damage of nearby allies, which goes along with helping your friends with the white werewolf and all of that kind of stuff. So they made these very, if you're alone, you probably should go with this one. If you're constantly with other werewolves, you should probably go with this one, which is really nice that they did that. It gives you that option. The next one is Piercing Howl, which actually, It's actually one of my favorite abilities of the werewolf, because it's a crushing howl, deals X amount of physical damage, and knocks them down for 3 seconds. This deals a lot of damage. It really does. It's like, depending on your level, it does a lot of damage. It takes a lot of stamina, but it deals a lot of damage. So that's usually the thing I kill people with, because I hit them a couple times and I use the werewolf howl, and then they get knocked down and they die. It's fantastic. The two morphs for this are Howl of Despair and Howl of Agony. Howl of Despair increases allies' basic attacks, which is good, helps your friends. And then Howl of Agony deals increased damage to enemies that are currently feared. So if you want to pair it up with Roar, then you can use the Piercing Howl, and it deals that extra damage. If we go down to Infectious Claw, which I've noticed is kind of good, mauling enemies and dealing physical damage, and then it adds like a poison kind of damage. It says disease, but it's like a poison damage for 10 seconds. This is good if you're trying to like wear something big down, but if you're working on like just smaller stuff, it never really comes up. The two morphs for this one are Claw of Anguish and Claws of Life. Claws of Anguish, target affected receives less health, which I never really understood that whole concept of like enemies like taking health or whatever. And Claws of Life gives you gain health over time based on damage done. So depending on how much damage is on you, I think depends on how much health it gives you back, which also is the sustain your werewolf for longer. And then if you go down to the passive abilities, you have Pursue, which increases the amount of stamina your heavy attack restores. Devour, which allows you to devour corpses, fallen enemies, which sustains your werewolf for even longer. Which that does like half of your werewolf, fills up half of your werewolf timer, which is really good if you've killed like multiple things in the area. You can just feed once, feed twice, full werewolf. And then Blood Rage, which increases time for werewolf by 1 second each time you take damage. This effect can occur once every 3 seconds, which, it's different for each time, like the 2 times that you level it up, but the final one is this, which it's really, really useful, because if you're fighting something big, it sustains your werewolf for a lot longer. And then if you go down to Blood Moon, which is the thing I talked about earlier that you needed, that it allows you to bite other players and have them become werewolves. This effect doesn't work on vampires. Then you go down to Savage Strength, increase weapon damage by 18%. That's the top one. And then Call of the Pack, cause nearby allies in werewolf form to stay transformed for 10 more seconds. Which I haven't really noticed too much, because I haven't played with too many of my friends, but I'm trying to stack those up so that once all of my friends kind of level off around the same level, we can all like werewolf out, go through dungeons, that kind of stuff. Just be careful if you're a bunch of werewolves, because the werewolf is, like I've said before, very, very susceptible to poison damage. If I go to character and I go to lycanthropy, which is the werewolf ability, allows you to transform. Your combat stamina recovery is increased by 15%, and then take 40% more damage from poison attacks while in werewolf form. So the poison doesn't affect you when you're not in werewolf form, but when you're in werewolf form, it hits you hard. It really does. Like, it does a lot more damage. Like, I've been one hit by, like, the big boss that had poison damage while I was a werewolf. So be very aware of what you're fighting, is what I'm saying here. Alright guys, I think that's everything I wanted to cover in this video. If you have any questions about the werewolf, leave your question down in the comment section below. I will get to it as soon as I see it, and I'm pretty active on this channel. I'm on it every day, checking to see what you guys have said and what you guys are talking about and what you guys are looking for. So if you guys have any questions on anything, you want me to put out videos on anything, just shoot me a message, put something in the comment section below. Alright guys, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and to all you gamers out there, stay committed.